Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into an invisible game that's unfolding all around us every single day. Just imagine you're playing this incredibly high-stakes game where one single player controls the flow of money for the entire country. I know, it sounds like the plot of a sci-fi novel, but it's absolutely our reality. We're going to unpack exactly how this invisible game works and how the players at the very top, our central banks, manage to steer this massive, wildly complex global economy without anyone ever actually seeing their hands on the wheel. So think about this for a second. How do you move trillions of dollars silently? You probably imagine that a player with this kind of immense power makes moves loudly, right? Like slamming down strict rules, issuing rigid mandates, dictating terms to the entire financial world. But they don't. Instead, they drop hints. A single sentence delivered in a quiet press room, a super subtle change in tone during a routine interview, maybe just a carefully chosen adjective buried deep inside a 30-page document. And somehow, almost magically, trillions of dollars move around the globe in immediate response. It sounds completely crazy, but this is the exact hidden mechanism of how central banks operate on a daily basis.
Section 1. The Invisible Money Game.
When we hear the phrase central bank, most of us picture a wizard behind a curtain, or some isolated room full of serious economists pulling giant mechanical levers to control interest rates. It's the standard view we're all taught in school. Set higher rates and loans become expensive. Drop them and borrowing gets cheaper. It feels like a simple mechanical cause and effect. But actually, scratch that. The massive revelation that most people simply don't realize is that sometimes what a central bank says is far more powerful than what it does. That physical lever pulling, it's just a tiny fraction of the overarching game.
Words are literally greater than actions in this world. Why? Well, because financial markets are constantly, obsessively trying to predict the future. The entire global financial system is essentially just a giant machine built to anticipate what happens next, and central banks hold some of the absolute biggest clues to that future. A single, carefully chosen word from a central bank governor can move stock markets, shift bond yields, and violently swing the price of gold in absolute milliseconds. Algorithms and human traders alike are out there parsing every single syllable. These banks aren't just controlling interest rates today, they are actively anchoring everyone's expectations for tomorrow.
Section 2. The power of a whisper. To understand why these words matter so incredibly much, we kind of have to change how we visualize the economy. Don't think of it as a predictable machine. Think of the global economy as a massive, deeply unpredictable crowd of human beings. Now, if someone in the middle of a huge crowd suddenly yells fire, what happens? Panic spreads instantly. People run, they react without thinking, and sheer chaos follows. Central banks want the exact opposite of that. Their fundamental job is to keep that crowd calm. So instead of shouting, they whisper. They communicate slowly, carefully, and highly predictably through scheduled speeches and dense reports, all to ensure the crowd stays completely at ease.
The fancy industry term for this highly coordinated whisper is forward guidance. Basically, it's the practice of dropping subtle, deeply analyzed hints about future decisions. It's the central bank's way of telling the massive crowd, hey, we're not changing anything today, but here's exactly what we might do tomorrow. It's a brilliant psychological strategy designed to guide the market's expectations. They're basically laying out breadcrumbs so that everyone knows the path ahead, and the bank doesn't even have to pull any levers right now. Let's watch how this builds in real time. The bank simply hints at a future rate drop in a dry, seemingly boring speech on a random Tuesday afternoon. Instantly, within seconds, major investors adjust their massive portfolios based on that subtle hint. And because of that rapid adjustment, the real economy actually starts moving. If business leaders believe rates are going up next year, they change their hiring and capital spending today. A CEO might freeze a brand new factory build just based on a single speech. The truly mind-blowing part here is that the entire global economy begins moving and reshaping itself before the central bank even takes a single physical action.
Section 3. Why markets hate surprises.
So, what happens when things don't go according to plan? Imagine a central bank abruptly surprising everyone with a massive policy change overnight. No hints, no forward guidance, no gentle speeches to prep the public. The immediate result is that uncertainty becomes incredibly expensive. Financial markets absolutely hate surprises because investors suddenly lose their map of the future. And when that map disappears, businesses freeze. They delay multi-million-dollar decisions. People get incredibly nervous. And when the crowd gets nervous, they stop spending, they stop investing, and they start hoarding capital, which can literally grind an economy to a complete halt.
And that brings us to the core motivation of central bankers.
Boring, heavily expected changes equal stable, healthy markets. They will spend literally months, sometimes a full year, preparing the public for major decisions. They want the eventual change to feel completely mundane and fully expected by the time it actually arrives. Why? Because sudden surprises act like a lightning bolt to the system. They create nervous, highly volatile, and deeply dangerous markets where wealth can just evaporate in an afternoon.
Section 4. When banks must shout.
However, there are profound moments in history when whispering just doesn't cut it. Sometimes the economy catches fire, and those subtle, gentle hints completely fail to calm the crowd. Think about the stark reality of rapid inflation. We've all felt it. Food costs way more at the grocery store. Fuel costs more at the pump. Rent skyrockets. When everyday prices rise this aggressively across the board, people feel intense, immediate pain. But more importantly, the public starts losing confidence that things will ever stabilize. At that critical point, a gentle hint about future policy is entirely useless. The crowd is already panicking.
This is when the bank needs everyone to believe it is completely, unequivocally serious. They have to send an unmistakable message that cuts right through the panic. We will do whatever it takes. This is the ultimate central bank shout. When a bank uses this kind of dramatic, aggressive language and pairs it with rapidly hiking interest rates, they are shouting to the world that the era of gentle guidance is totally over. The rules of the game have abruptly changed. It's basically a declaration of war on economic instability. And man, the moment everyone realizes the central bank has stopped whispering and started shouting, the market reaction is immediate and violent. Stocks can plummet in a matter of hours. Bond yields move sharply as traders scramble to reprice their risk. National currencies can surge or totally collapse. Markets fall back into line immediately because the era of predictable, boring stability has been entirely suspended. This shout is a deliberate shock to the system, totally designed to force the crowd to stop, listen, and change their behavior right this second.
Section 5. The psychology of money. So this intense dynamic between whispering and shouting leads us to a much deeper truth about all of this. Central banking isn't just some mathematical equation, it is a high-stakes communication strategy. It's not just managing pure numbers on a spreadsheet, it is the management of expectations, which, let's be honest, is pure human psychology. The economy isn't driven only by historical data, it's driven by what humans expect is going to happen next. If consumers expect inflation, they rush out to buy goods today, which actually causes more inflation. If businesses expect a slowdown, they lay off workers today, which creates the slowdown. Central banks are managing complex human behavior just as much as they're managing currency.
The real secret here? A central bank's goal isn't just to influence reality today. The ultimate goal is to influence what people firmly believe reality will be tomorrow. Because if you can change what the massive crowd believes about the future, that collective belief ultimately manifests into the new reality. It's this incredibly fascinating infinite loop of perception and action. What we think will happen dictates what we do, and what we do dictates what actually happens.
Knowing this completely changes how you should consume financial news. Seriously, the next time you hear a central bank governor giving a seemingly dry speech, do not assume it's just boring economic jargon to tune out. Listen to every single word. Notice every deliberate pause. Watch for subtle shifts in tone. Institutional investors and algorithms are scrutinizing all of it, trying to map out the future. Because a carefully crafted whisper gently guides the entire global market, while a sudden shout shocks it to its core.
Which leaves us with one really profound question to consider today. If a single whispered sentence from a central bank can move more money around the globe than an entire government program, who is really pulling the strings of reality? In this strange and highly interconnected world we live in, words aren't just words. They are the most powerful economic policy we have. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Keep paying really close attention to those whispers out there, and I'll see you next time as we continue exploring the hidden mechanics of our complex financial systems.